everyone, it's Ricka Brandon with Recruit, Retain, Rock and Building Gurus, and I am so glad that you are watching this on the replay or hopefully joining me live. I'm super excited to talk about this week's topic, which is hiring plans, and it's something you may have a vague idea about, but not be really clear about. So I want to just start by really kind of describing what a hiring plan is, just to make sure we're all on the same page and thinking about it in the same way. So a hiring plan is when you look at your business goals, and we all, tis the season, right, to be looking at the next year and building our goals out and thinking about how we're going to achieve them. The hiring plan is when we've made that goal and we're looking at what are the people we need to achieve these results. Because the reality is we can't grow our business by 15%, 30%, without adding some more people for the most part, right? It could happen through automation improvements, but most of the time there's going to be a people component we need to think about. So with that, that is the hiring plan. So we have our strategic plan, looking at it. This is where we're really looking at what people do we need and what roles do we need to really achieve the results that we're looking for in the next year. You could do it more in a 6-month or 3-month increment, but lots of people look at the year recognizing we're going to adjust it as we go. So that's what I want you guys to think about. So hiring plans are not only about how we're going to achieve those goals and that growth, but we also need to account for turnover, because the reality is the average percent of turnover in businesses across the US is 20%. Might be like 18%, but it's pretty close to 1 in 5. And that's a significant number of employees for most companies. So I want you to be thinking not only about the growth, but also planning for the reality that people do leave. And of course, in the middle of the great resignation or the great reshuffle, whatever you want to call it, really being aware of attrition and turnover is going to be crucial to your success and getting ahead of it in the next year. So with that, that is hiring plans. And of course, I think you guys can understand the importance of them. But I do want to share a couple of things that I think are really critical and why it's so important for you to think about having a hiring plan. The first one is, of course, strategic planning is always very important. It's hard to know, we can know where we're going, but if we don't know how we're going to get there, it's very unlikely we're going to get there. I like to think of the old adage of the fact that we can drive from New York to California with just 200 feet of visibility with our headlights on at the dark. But if we don't actually know where we're going, who knows where we'll end up, right? We might just go in a circle and come back. So, that's one of the first things. I'm going to share 3 things about hiring plans and why I think they're worth your time and energy. So that first one is we need to know not only where we're going and what that goal is, but how we're going to get there. And so that requires us to take a little time and think about, how am I going to increase sales by 15%? Or how am I going to increase my on time in full? Or whatever the metric is for you that you're working on improving, and thinking about what that translates in regards to people and roles and positions. So that's the first one, right? We need to know not only where we're going, but how we're going to get there. And that involves really thinking about, some of it might be automation, some of it might be people. As I've shared in other lives and different quick tip videos, this is a really cool time. It is a frustrating time because of the great resignation. However, it has created a ton of opportunities for us to hire freelancers, independent contractors, partnering with vendors, getting full-time W-2 people that are remote. So we have access to this amazing talent pool that we never had this kind of easy access to before. So I want you to think outside the box when you're making that hiring plan. They don't all need to be W-2 full-time people who show up at your door. You may find that you can get a social media manager who's in 4 states away who can do an amazing job for you part-time. So that's one of the cool opportunities we have before us going into 2022, is that there's a lot of ways to get our needs met as far as people are concerned. So that was the first one, right? The second one is it gives you the opportunity to capitalize on a great person early. So as most of you know, I've been a recruiter since 2001, and many, many times the positions I'm working on aren't even listed on their job boards. And lots of times, one of the most common ways that recruiters market their service is they find a great person and present it to hiring managers saying, hey, are you interested in a $1.5 million salesperson? And most of the time the answer is yes, right? If there's a great person and they have any sort of need, they want to talk to that excellent A player. So when you know what you need, you might not be planning to hire that person until Q4, But if they show up at your door in Q2, you can recognize, hey, look at this person. They check all my boxes. They're in my compensation range. And you know what? We can accelerate that. We can bring them on now and start to get those results earlier. It won't always work, of course, but at least you have a clear opportunity. So you're not kicking yourself because you said, yeah, we're not interested in a sales manager in Q2 when that great person showed up at your doorstep. And in Q4, you're desperately looking for one, but that person's found a job and you can't compete with the pay. So I want you to really think about that as a way to position yourself to be ready to capitalize on opportunities that you would otherwise miss and then regret. So that's the second thing. Hiring plans give you the opportunity to capitalize on opportunities that you might otherwise miss. And those can be game changing, right? We all know if a rock star salesperson shows up and wants to be part of our team, chances are we can figure out how to make that work unless we're really struggling with, delivery issues or operational meltdown. So I want you to be thinking about it as a way that you can be able to really make a strategic decision, like a game time decision of, can we add this person? Should we, or do we need to wait it out? Okay, so the third thing that I think is really important about having a hiring plan is because it allows you to look inside, right? We always hear about right person, right spot on the bus. So this is that chance. Do you have somebody internally who could grow into that role, but they need a little time to develop? Because again, if you're not looking at adding a sales manager till Q4 and you have a sales rep who is interested in being a manager and demonstrates the right kind of personality for it, you have time to develop that person and get them some coaching and training so they're ready to step into that role and really thrive. Likewise, you also have time to develop them and sort of test it out and see if they actually are going to be able to deliver at the level you need. So I wouldn't suggest that you tell them, hey, we're grooming you to be the sales manager. I would say, hey, we see you have an interest in this. We want to give you some chances to develop it, and do that without making any promises, right? So we want to know that that opportunity exists, but we don't want to promise it to people, because that's about the worst thing we can do is say, hey, you're going to be groomed to be the sales manager. And then we're either stuck promoting them when really it's not likely they're going to succeed, or telling them, hey, you know what? That's not true. You didn't do well enough. We're not going to hire you. It's just awkward. It's better. Like I always say, it's easier to not hire someone than it is to fire them, right? Same thing with promoting. So we want to let them know we're giving the opportunity to grow and develop that skill set, but we don't want to make any promises until we're a little bit more sure about if they can do it. However, this is a really powerful tool to use, especially right now with the Great Resignation and with people really wanting to feel more fulfilled and engaged in their work. The one thing I would caution, and I've been cautioning against this for years and years and years, is that, people think they want to be in management. They think it's the way to climb the career ladder and all of that stuff, and they might not actually be suited for it. So I would encourage you to think about using an assessment to kind of make sure that's what they want. And that is because some people are wired to be individual contributors and they're going to thrive in that role. And other people are wired to be managers and they're very excited to do the work of, helping other people succeed and having their success tied to other people's results. All right, I will say this, most top salespeople struggle to adapt successfully to a coach, mentor, sales manager type structure. And that's, most of them are much happier in the individual contributor. So it's one of those things. And sometimes we need to kind of coach people because they think they want that role. They think they want to be that sales manager. And the reality is they probably won't be very happy in it. So I just encourage you to do that where, it's easy to promote the top salesperson. It's not often the right choice. Simply because of the fact that they're wired to be an individual contributor, and it's going to frustrate them that they are only getting rewarded based on other people's results and they can't make them do it the way they would, right? So I just share that as somebody who has placed hundreds of sales managers over the years, that it's something that I want you to really know that you need to talk to them about it and be really clear about, is this actually what you want? And talk about some of the nitty-gritty details of what it looks like, and give them a chance to experience it to decide if they want it or not. And I mean, we all know that the reality is lots of times sales reps can make more than sales managers. So that might cool their jets right there. So I want to just recap the 3 reasons that I think hiring plans are so important and worth your time. And the first one is, you need to know not only where you're going, but how you're going to get there. It's very hard to add a significant amount of sales or profit to the bottom line if you don't know what you're going to add into your mix to make that possible. How is that going to be possible next year when it wasn't possible this year, right? So again, the first thing is we need to know where we're going and how we're going to get there. The second one is it allows us the opportunity to capitalize on people and opportunities earlier than we had planned and make strategic and informed decisions so we are actually able to execute and capitalize on opportunities. If we don't know our plan, we don't know what we're thinking about hiring, we're very likely to miss opportunities because we're just not thinking about it in that moment. Whereas if we have a plan, we can recognize, hey, you know what, we can add this person earlier. And it's very different than the knee-jerk hiring of, hey, this great person showed up at my door and I'm going to create a job for them. Because we've all done that and it's often painful. Let's not kid ourselves, right? Occasionally it works out. Lots of times it's sort of an expensive disaster. So I encourage us to not do that and have a plan, right? The third thing is, we really need to look at our internal team. We've got this great opportunity of people who have chosen your company. They've stayed. They've obviously performed well. What can we do to develop them? Do we have internal resources? Do we need to look externally to people to help develop them and give them the skills so they can thrive in this role? And again, we owe it to them to make sure we're being real about the opportunity and making sure it's what they really want, not just what they think the next step is. And that's one of the things I get feisty about, is the fact that there's a ton of effort and everything into management training programs and career paths for management. And really, for the most time, we have about 8 times more employees who aren't in management than in management. And we need to focus on those individual contributor roles and developing those as well, because they are just as important to the company and can make a huge difference, right? But people don't think about that as a career path because there's such a focus on the management side. So those are the 3 main things, plus a few bonus tips, because I have a lot of thoughts on things. So I hope this helps, and I hope you have a hiring plan. If you are struggling to figure out your hiring plan for 2022, definitely reach out, book a discovery call with one of my team members. We'll be happy to help you kind of walk through it, ask some of the right questions so you can get clear about what you need. We're going to drop the link in the chat, but it is recruitretainrock.com/discovery. And it's a free call. It's about 20 to 30 minutes long, and it'll help you get clarity on what you need to do. And if there's any ways we can support you, of course, we'll be happy to share. But the main goal is for you to get clarity on what you need so you can rock 2022. All right. Happy hiring.